Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing The Single Life. So again, don't have any hot goss. We're just going to jump right into the episode, and we'll do hot goss for Love and Translation, 90 Day Diaries. So let's get into it. So, Single Life, Season 4, Episode 8. Chantel gets a taste. Ew. Okay, so Chantel, let's get right into her. So, she thinks, you know what, I could live here. I could definitely live here. When she doesn't fucking know the man. She's already thinking about living here. Anyways, we're headed to a festival that Giannis has invited her to. And we arrive there. Again, this is going to be very quick, guys. Not a lot. We get there and we see a lot of people just dancing in a circle, and I yell, Oppa! We're going to see some plates smashing. I would love nothing more than to smash a plate. Give me a plate. I will smash it. Anyway, she meets up with, or they find Giannis. And, she hugs him. And she looks at him in such a way where she was definitely expecting a kiss. And that did not come. And she's like, okay. But anyway, she asks, so what kind of festival is this? Like, what are we doing here? What are we celebrating? Snails. Yeah, we're celebrating snails. She's like, I'm sorry, what? So this is a festival where they cook snails. And, yeah. No thanks. That's me. She's the same. Because she is like, what? This is a snail festival. And in the moment, to make herself feel better, she's like, escargot. I know snails are escargot. I don't like escargot. Like, honey, they snails. Just say it. It's okay. Saying escargot isn't gonna make it any better. She likes, she said something else that she likes. Aphrodisiac, but I can't remember exactly which one she said. Oysters? Oysters. That's what she said. She likes oysters, but she doesn't like snails because, I guess, because of the fact that oysters are aphrodisiac, and I'm like, that there are other things you can have, but I'm not fucking putting an oyster in my mouth either. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care what it will do for me. Okay? I don't care. I'll figure something else out. I'm fine on that. Anyway. But she's like, I'm not putting a fucking snail in my mouth. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not fucking doing it. And the snails arrive, and he puts a snail on a fork, and he's like, you ready? Yeah. And there's no way in fucking hell I am a picky fucking eater. I'll admit this. I'm not putting a fucking snail in my fucking mouth. You can fuck off with that shit. And I think in her head, she's thinking the same thing I am. But she's like, okay. And her friend Destiny's just like, just one. That's fine, just one. And it gets in her mouth, like, okay, chew it, swallow it, put it down there, down the chute, let's go, let's do this. But she can't handle it. And I think she spits it out. And she says it tastes like snot. Now, Chantel, I have a question. How do you know what snot tastes like? Because I sure as hell don't know what snot tastes like. I mean, it does make me want to barf, so I'm going to stop saying the word because I'm like, ooh. But, how do you know? Anyway, she says, okay, so you're supposed to give me a kiss. Okay, again, asking for a kiss, like verbally asking for a kiss. If he has to ask, then he doesn't want to. Like, it's one thing if you look up what she did, though. She did do that, but he didn't catch the signal. But I don't, in my experience, I don't ask for kisses. I just look at my boyfriend and I go, and he knows. I just do that, and he knows. That's me non-verbally asking for a kiss. But it's just like, he should just know. You don't have to, you should have to ask verbally for a kiss, you know? Um, but he does kiss her. But as she says, and I also described it as, it was a weak ass kiss. He didn't even try. He's not interested in her. Which, again, not necessarily, I'm not expecting him to be into her, but this is pretty bad. Anyway, she expected, like, he would be cuddling with her and, you know, like, loving on her. And I'm like, well, he can't, like, cuddle you in a festival. I mean, personally, like, I don't know if the better solution would have been for her to sit beside him instead of them sitting across from each other. But I don't know. I think maybe sitting across from each other would have been a great idea if you guys were actually talking to each other. But he's not even talking to her. He's not paying attention to her. Let's get to that part now. So, um, she's feeling ignored because she is being ignored. And she's wondering, maybe I am just getting ahead of myself. And the answer to that question is yes, Chantel. You have definitely gotten ahead of yourself with this one. You're so quick to want to be in a relationship. They're not giving yourself the time to heal from the last one you were in. You were with him for 7 years. Listen, I have known my boyfriend for just under that. I could never move on as quickly as she's trying to do. I would be an absolute mess. And I have experienced that, actually. And I've tried to do, because honestly, I'm going to say this. She's not doing it because she wants to be in a relationship because of, you know, maybe because she wants to be a mother right away or any of those things. She's doing it because, or even if she doesn't want to be alone, which I think is partly it. But I think she is rushing into this relationship with Giannis or any other man because she's trying to get over Pedro. Because that is what I tried to do. And guess what? It doesn't work. You can't get over someone by trying to get under another. Even though, like, that might make you forget for a little bit. But it doesn't help. It is because they live in your heart. Pedro lives in her heart. Your heart does not heal that quickly. It just doesn't. So she has to allow herself the time to heal and move on and get over what he did to her or what she feels he did to her. There's no question he did something. He left her. And that's really hard. I don't know necessarily if I agree with everything they accuse him of, but he did leave her. And that's an abandonment issue that she's dealing with. She needs therapy, not a new boyfriend. So, yeah, there's that. Anyway, she asks him, like, what do you think about our chemistry? And he thinks, yeah, I think we have great chemistry. And then he just kind of goes right back to talking to his friends. And, well, not right away, but she says, like, you seem like quiet or like whatever. Or are you shy? I think is a question she asked him. And he says, well, it's not that I'm shy. I just need a lot of time to, get to know somebody. But, and not rush into things. But then here comes his friends and he's ignoring her again. And she tries to try to get his attention and he's completely oblivious. And I'm like, okay, like you could try a little harder, but you're definitely trying hard, or maybe not that hard, to not know her or ignore her, which just tells me he's not interested. And Destiny says, like, you're only here for a couple of more days. He's not even trying. Like, that kind of just goes to show, like, he's not interested. He's just not that into you. But anyway, that's it for Chantel. Let's move on to Natalie. Again, not a lot. I feel like we didn't get like a whole lot for each person this time around, but anyway, we are right back to where we left off. We're walking into this restaurant and he goes to hug her, but she's like, no. And he's like, oh, great. because he already knows what's about to happen, or at least she's gonna have an attitude. And he tells her, your nails are cute. What? What? Like, that's what you have to say? Your nails are cute? Jesus. Anyway, he's like, why do you look sad? And she basically tells him that she feels like I've told you many times what I need and what I want, but it just feels like you don't want me. I moved here, and I thought maybe that would change things, but it still feels like what I do is not enough. And he says, I'm trying. And she's like, oh, you're trying. Josh, you're trying? She's like, it's been 2 years, sir. I have not seen your home, but you're trying. And he's like, like he, okay. And she's like, I'm 1 in a million woman. Like, you're never gonna find me again. And she then goes into, and this was fucking brutal, yo. She's like, you're fucking weak. And I cannot be with a weak man. Oh my God. I don't know if it's so much that he's weak, but he's a man who has a lot of responsibility, and he can't include a woman in there. He just can't. She feels like she's being treated as a regular. Basically, I'm being treated as a fuck girl and not like the girl. That's basically what she's trying to say. And he's like, I'm not treating you like a regular girl. It's just that my life is complicated. I am trying, but maybe you should be with someone who doesn't have kids, who doesn't have maybe the same obligations that he does. And she gets very emotional, but this is exactly what she wants. I don't know, but she says she's tired of giving her all to someone and gets nowhere with that, which that's where her frustration is coming from. When you're on like husband number 4 potentially, and and it just go nowhere, then but I mean, she left Mike for what felt like no apparent reason. Shit went downhill between her and Mike before she even went to the States because of something she did. They had this argument for whatever reason, I can't even remember now, but she threw the ring at him. She did that. She has been the one who's sabotaged things. Not the guy. Because again, she's grouping everybody into this, not just Josh. Now, do I think Josh could have done better by, inviting her to his fucking home? Yes, I do. He's hiding something. But, ultimately, though, this guy has done a lot that I think. You think Mike would have done that? Absolutely not. He wouldn't have gotten her an apartment or a home to live in. He wouldn't have gotten her a car, quote unquote, to give her to drive in. He wouldn't have done any of those things. And I think to myself, okay, so if we're breaking up with Josh, who's paying for all of that shit? Because now what are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? She basically tells him at this point, I'm not interested in seeing you anymore. And yeah, she's like, it took me a long time to know that you don't want me. And she's like, I'm wasting no more time. And he says, I do like you. That's why he says, I do like you. But I think you need something else than what I can give you. And she says, men treat me bad. Lord. But I hope she's being honest about this, because I think this is exactly the things that Natalie needs to be telling herself so that she can start believing it and she can start living her life without this expectation of I need a man. Because she says, I, I don't need a man to make me happy. And she says, like, I end up with guys who make me weak. She needs kind of a man who is not going to make her weak, if that's the way she goes. But I get the idea that she is not going to, she's not going to wait around for a man to come around to give her what she needs. And we kind of see this next week, which I think is incredible. I don't know exactly what's happening, but I wonder if she's doing egg retrieval. And I wonder, like, what took you so long? You should have been doing this from the minute you left Mike. Preserve your eggs. Cause, like, why not? So, but yeah, I kind of getting this feeling of, I can do this by myself. I'm gonna stop wasting my time on men. And I think that is absolutely incredible. And how all she needs to do is also get therapy, and she'd be great. She's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go now. And she gets up, and he does ask her for a hug, and this time she gives him a hug. And she walks away. And she goes and hugs a tree. Because why not? Let the tree ground her. And she says, like, I gave more than 7 years of myself to Mike. I gave time to this guy, almost 2 years. And she's like, I just can't. And she says, I get nowhere. Or I got no one. And she's crying at this point. She's like, I moved to this country, she would state, with mom. I have no friends. What am I going to do? And she's a mess. Which, again, yes. But Natalie, you didn't just move there because Josh. You moved there because that's where you want to be to try to get an acting career. And it so happens that that's where Josh, like, partly resides. But, yeah. She'll figure it out. But that's it for Natalie. Let's move on to John. It's an awkward drive at the moment. He apologizes to Meghan. He didn't expect it to go that way. And he says, I'm a little annoyed at Patrick. And I said, yeah, you should be. I'm a little annoyed at Patrick for you. I want to punch Patrick in the face because that's not nice. Why didn't you do any of that? Not cool, dude. Anyway, she does say, though, and in the moment, that it would be a deal breaker if he did not want more kids, which we kind of know this already. So they go to a bar to get a drink because, y'all, they need one. And he knows he wants to be with her and River. Like, he wants the family unit to be him, her, and River. He just doesn't necessarily want more kids. But you know what? He's sure there's a possibility that could change. And I said, oh God. And she does think, and I do agree, that there is a possibility that, that someone can change their mind if they meet the right person. And maybe he just needs some time to make that change. And I said, okay, here's the thing. I hear what you're saying, but for me, how long does that take? How long will it take for you to change your mind on whether or not you want to have a child with me? Am I going to be wasting away while you figure it out? I don't know if I could do that. I really don't. I really don't think I could have done that. I need to know that the person, at least fundamentally, maybe you don't want them now, but fundamentally, just the basic, you want to be a father to biological children or whatever. That I can work with. But if you tell me that flat out you don't want to have kids, you never did, I don't know. I don't know if I can trust you could change your mind. Anyway, they then start talking about him moving. She says it kind of needs to be a deadline on that one. And he's on about the deadlines. And she's like, if the move doesn't happen, then I don't think we can move forward. And he also doesn't like the ultimatum. So he doesn't want either deadlines or ultimatums. But it's the next day. Meghan is heading back to Texas. And, things didn't go as planned, he says. And he says he definitely wants to be with her. And I believe him. I believe he wants to be with her. I just don't know what's holding him back. Well, maybe what's holding him back is the fact that there's subplines and ultimatums. I don't know. But she says, take this time to kind of figure out where we're going. They can both kind of take the time. And and make sure that you're sure. And he says, I am 100% sure. And he keeps telling her that, but she can kind of tell, like, she doesn't believe me. They get to the airport, and they're saying their goodbyes. And John's now leaving to go home. And all of a sudden, he's just kind of like, wait a minute. I think the car is smoking. And he pulls over. And he opens the hood of the trunk and hood of the car, sorry. And he's like, well, I'm no mechanic, but something tells me that's not good. And he ends up getting a tow, and yeah, now he can't even go home. He's like, my car is fucked, my relationship is fucked, this sucks. Poor guy. Oh man. But anyway, that's it for John. Again, I felt like we just got like little bits for each person. We didn't, well, except for Veronica. I have a full page here for Veronica and Jamal, but we definitely got like little bits for each. But anyway, let's do Veronica. So they're on the way back to her place, and she's like, dinner was good, and Jamal and Tim are definitely cordial, and they're getting along. It's great, right? He says, well, it did get awkward for him though when Tim was asking about like how he likes his steak and stuff like that. Like, grown ass man should know how he likes his steak, basically. And she's like, no, I totally get it, because that pisses me off too. Like, you saw how I answered. I'm like, you answered like you were, gonna just order for him. I don't understand what her answer, but anyways, whatever. And then he kind of says like, I can't get over the fact that when we were decided we'd go exclusive, and you didn't want to tell Tim because you act like you didn't want to tell him, and she's like, yeah, because I didn't want to hear his mouth about it. And he's like, well, what I don't understand, and I agree with him, what I don't understand is, why does it have to be a big deal to tell Tim? And she's like, well, Veronica, oh my God, how she decided to put these two things together is beyond me. But she says, well, why does it have to be a big deal that we tell your mom? What? He's like, bitch, that's my mom. That's different. That is my mother. Don't compare my relationship with my mom to your relationship with Tim. And she's like, it's the same thing. It's family. For me, it's chosen family, but it's still family. He's like, no. That is my mom. He's like, you had sexual relations with Tim. There it is. And he's like, and my mom changed my diapers. It's not the same thing. And I agree with him here too. It is not the same thing. That is his mother who birthed him, who raised him, who took care of him, who's right now watching Pillow Talk saying, why am I being brought up? Like, you know what I mean? That is his mom. Tim is a man you met at a club one night and had a long-term relationship with, almost married, and yes, in Jamal's words, had sex with. Not the same thing. Not the same. And no, not the same. I 100% agreed with him. And then we kind of get into like, why do you feel like you have to make, his girlfriends comfortable? why did you have to speak to Luisa in Spanish? Like, why did you have to do all those things? And first of all, Veronica says that she spoke in Spanish because that was what made her, Luisa, more comfortable. And he's like, did she tell you that? And she's like, yes. Y'all, I don't remember Luisa saying anything about being more comfortable speaking Spanish. I don't think she said that. I think Veronica is saying that she said that, but I don't think she said that. But nonetheless, I still don't have a problem with her speaking to her in Spanish. I don't give a shit. And he claims he doesn't give a shit after this. Like, I moved on from that. But no, he didn't. But she's like, that's just who I am. It's not about Tim's girlfriend. It's just how I am as a person. And the fact that you're questioning that, she's like, says in that moment, kind of goes to show like you don't know me. No, girl, he doesn't. Of course he doesn't know you. He doesn't know you. He doesn't care, first of all. But he's just like, well, are you his handler? Like, do you need to like do like, she's like, what the fuck? And she's like, she doesn't care about Tim. Like, she cares about Tim, yes, but she like, they like each other. She really likes this dumbass. I don't understand why, but she does. And, she's just like begging him to make a move and all of this. And I'm just trying to make her comfortable. That is all. Like, that is it. Like, come on now. And because at one point, she gets irritated by him and she slightly raises her voice. She's not even like yelling at him, but she slightly raises her voice. And he's like, why are you yelling at me? I'm like, oh my God, this fucking guy. And then they kind of get to the house at this point, pull into the house, and he's like, I just find it funny that like you can't take any kind of responsibility. And I'm like, wow, he's an asshole. Anyway, Veronica's is over this whole thing. They get inside the house. She's like, it's always about Tim. It's always Tim this, Tim that. She's like, fuck Tim. Like, this is enough. And he's like, you keep bringing up the Spanish thing. He's like, it's not about Spanish anymore. She's like, well, then what's it about? Because that's what you said. You said it was about the Spanish. So then what's it about? And he's like, I moved past it. And she's like, clearly not. Like, what the hell? And he's like, well, are you going to be mad all night? Or because he probably wants to fuck before they leave. And she's like, yes. Yes, actually, I think I'm going to be mad all night. Karma's a bitch. And she's like, you started this. You started this. I gave you an answer that you weren't happy with, and you kept going. You're the one who did this, not me. And he's like, well, it's because you raised your voice at me. She's like, I wasn't raising my voice at you. Or, I think she actually does admit she probably slightly raised her, she was slightly raising her voice. And he's like, well, I'm not going to be treated like a child. And she's like, wait, so you equate me raising my voice at you to you being a child? She's like, it has nothing to do with you being a child. He's like, well, I just don't think you need to raise your voice at me. She's like, maybe so. Maybe I don't need to raise my voice at you. But that has nothing to do with you being a child. That has everything to do with you are a man. I am a woman. You pissed me off. So I'm upset now. Like, what? And he just keeps going on, like, just in defiance. Is kind of me like, you raise your voice at me. So, like I'm just not gonna talk anymore. And she's like, okay, great. I'm not gonna talk anymore either. That's perfect. Fine by me. We just won't be able to resolve anything because neither of us want to talk. At this point, she takes her mic pack off and she's like, I'm fucking done, guys. Like, you got it? I'm great. I'm gonna go now. And he's like, so should I leave? And she's like, well, you're leaving anyways, aren't you? He's like, no, I meant tonight. Should I leave tonight? And she's like, I don't care. You want to pack your shit? Pack your shit and go. I don't care. And she goes upstairs with her purse and she's gone. And he's like, feisty. He fucking loves this shit. But this is a kink for him. I don't think it's a kink for her. I think it's a kink for him. And it's not going to get him anywhere. But anyway, he's like, well, I'm just going to pack up my stuff, I guess, and I'm going to go to a hotel. And I said, you know what? I think that's probably for the best. But something tells me he doesn't leave. Something tells me Veronica is a little bit like me and how I was in my last relationship, where I get mad and I just fuck it out instead. But that gets you absolutely nowhere. I hope she's not like that. I'm not like that now. I'm not like that now. I don't do that now. Anyway, that's it for Veronica and Jamal. Let's quickly finish up with Debbie, and a lot here. So we are just running around in Miami, checking it all out. We're actually going to be going to his place, and she's going to be meeting his dad. Apparently, he is a primary caregiver for both of his parents, and she thinks that's amazing because if they stick together, he's going to have to take care of her too. And yeah. So she's like, it's crazy that I'm going to be meeting his dad on the second date. Like, usually that doesn't happen. She's like, I like him. And this is going to either be me meeting the in-laws or pretty much like him meeting the in-laws, the dad meeting the in-laws or the outlaws. We're going to find out. But she meets dad very briefly, kind of goes well. But now they are going to go outside and leave dad to watch boxing or something. And they're just going to go to the backyard and talk a little bit. And we do find out here, he's like, after our last date, he came home and mom had to go to the hospital because she had a reaction potentially to chemotherapy. She has cancer. She has pancreatic cancer. And I said, oh no. And I think we all know with pancreatic cancer, it's just waiting game. And he's like, whatever time I have left with my parents, I want to spend it with my parents. So he says to her, like, if this goes further, I mean, you do have to consider the fact that you'd have to live in Miami because he's not leaving his parents. And she says, well, I figured that we would just take some time, get to know each other, build up that foundation before she moves to anywhere. But again, it's Miami, not Morocco, and she doesn't want to rush into anything because of last time. And she's like, I want my brain and my heart to connect at the same time, not one or the other. And, but yeah, Ruben says that he's going to be meeting Julian, tomorrow. So, hopefully he doesn't execute me in the process. And, she knows that, listen, if I tell Julian that he wants me to move to Miami at some point, he's going to lose his ever-loving shit. And I said, you know what? Yes, he is. But at least it's in America. It's not in Africa. It's not halfway across the fucking world. It's just in America. It's fine. And it's Florida. So maybe, maybe he could just find a job in Florida. I'm sure the Miami-Dade police would need some help. Sometimes the Miami-Dade police just need help. But I guess we'll see how this next meeting goes. But that's it for this episode. So next time on, Tyree thinks that thick girls are it girls. And I said, yes, Tyree, we are. Anyway, John is ready to take the next step with Meghan, but does Meghan believe him? We'll see. Julian meets Ruben the Cuban, and he does ask him, since mom doesn't ask the right questions, have you committed any crimes? And Natalie is deciding to take her life into her own hands and making some decisions, and it looks like she's going into a fertility clinic. So I think that's the best thing. But anyways, guys, that is it for Single Life for this week. So if you like what you heard, please share us with everyone in your life. Please also rate and review. That helps our growth, which you can do at either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. and we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. So make sure you hit follow, subscribe on your favorite app so you don't miss a single episode. You can connect with us by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Times 2. You can also go to Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Times 2 Pod. And you can email us by going to realitytimes2@hotmail.com. Don't forget we have our website, which is at solo.to/reality times 2. And also, don't forget I have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel called the Next Take Podcast, where we talk about, well, just about everything over there. We're on every one of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. But you can get access to any links, any socials, anything like that by going to our website, which is solo.to/next take podcast. And you also can go to YouTube, which is Next Take Podcast as well. But of course, all of these links will be in the show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.